There it goes, you're live. I have never done YouTube live before, so we're going to try this. I don't even know if I'm going to get anybody in on this chat, but there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. And I thought that this might be kind of a new and different way to go about doing that. First of all, because this channel, I should say, isn't just about astrophotography. It's also about bipolar disorder. It's also about life. It's also about having fun and doing hobbies and self-care. And one of my main ways of self-care is crochet. I love crochet. I've refallen back in love with crochet. I learned to crochet. My grandmother taught me when I was like 12. And I did it for years. I made doilies and afghans and all of this stuff. And then I got kind of tired of it. And so then I switched over to cross stitch. See that little wreath framed above my fireplace there? That's a cross stitch. I have one on this wall. I have one over there. I have one in the foyer. I've got cross stitch everywhere. So self-care is part of, like, crafts is part of self-care for me. So right now I'm into some new crochet projects. So I thought I would share what I've been working on lately. This is pretty cool. So this is my springtime wreath. I finished it just in time for spring. And the butterflies are 3D printed. We have a 3D printer. I might have to reprint this one. It didn't turn out so well. But anyway, this is how my wreath looks for spring for my door. Hey, hey. Not too shabby. And then another project I'm working on. I know it's way too early to be thinking about Christmas, but I'm going to make some things for... Well, I'm going to make these little snowmen for my niece and my three nephews. And so I've been working on this one for my niece. And how stinking cute is this little guy? Huh? Look at that. Look at that little guy. So I've been doing a lot of self-care because it's not selfish. Hi, Rick. Good to see you here, buddy. Thank you. Yes, I've been having fun with my projects. This one was really fun because of the hat. Look at how cool the hat turned out. Like, I could make a big one for me and wear it to the Kentucky Derby. But the reason that I wanted to get on here today, and I don't expect this to be very long, I got into a conversation on Facebook. And I am part of a group on there called I Regret Having Children. And I don't have children myself, but reading these stories kind of reinforced my path of not becoming a mother, and that's fine. But there was somebody on there that wrote something the other day that said that they had some mental illness. They always wanted to be a mom. They ended up having children. Their children had mental illness, and it had been a nightmare. And all of the comments, well, maybe not all, but I'll say 98% of the comments were so hateful towards this person. And all of these are anonymous, so it's not like they can, like, private message them and get in on it. But it's just like, I was just kind of blown aback by these people. They were just so hateful to this person. So I got on there and I extended some grace. I extended some empathy. I really tried to offer an olive branch here to this. Like, there's got to be more to it, whether they felt like peer pressured into it, or maybe they, like, what is regret, right? First of all, I think that regret can come from two different places. And I am not a doctor, but regret can come from a change of mind or a change of heart, and it can also come from not knowing your limits until you're in way too deep. And I've just felt like all of these people, whether they had children or not, they were on this, like, high horse of, well, you made your bed, you got to lie in it. And so one of my responses to this girl, she said, well, she wanted it. So you offering her benefit of the doubt that she was maybe pressured into it by her husband or whatever doesn't matter. And I wrote this person back, and I can't remember it word for word, but I said something like, people with mental illness often make poor choices. But from an outside perspective, they are berated for making poor choices. And people don't recognize that making poor choices is a symptom of mental illness. And I just wanted to put that out there here. Like, we just need to all, excuse me, we all need to try harder to be more empathetic and more understanding of those with mental illnesses or mental health issues, because none of us are perfect. Let's just take out mental illness altogether. I don't think that I would be able to find one person on the planet who doesn't have a regret about something that they did. Like, we've all wanted to do things that later we did it and we regretted it. Like, let's say you're at a theme park, right? And you're looking at this like spinny ride and you're saying to yourself, ooh, I want to do it, but I don't think that I think I might get sick. I really want to try that though, but I think I might throw up. I might get sick. And let's say your family member or your friend starts dragging you by the arm and taking you over, and you ride it and you get sick. And you regret that you rode the thing altogether. But you can't take back that you rode the thing. You can't take back that you did the experience of it. And so, and then, okay, on the other side of the coin, there's people out there that say, ooh, I don't think I can do that. I don't think that I should, take that on or whatever. Then they do it only to thrive. Like, it's a wonderful thing that happened. Sometimes you don't know what you're capable of until you're in it. And once you're in it, especially when it comes to being a parent, you can only back out of it so far, right? You've made this permanent change to your life. But people with mental illness make choices. People with mental illness also are notorious for denying the fact that they have mental illness. But yet we berate them for making poor choices. It's a little bit hypocritical to me. Like, the math doesn't math there. I can't stand it when people, behind the safety of their keyboards, get online and trash other people with mental illness instead of identifying that people with mental illness aren't. What do you expect from them? You don't expect them to make good choices, right? You don't expect, that's the kind of, we need to be offering help instead of tearing them down. And I even commented that if I had been one of these parents that had this, regret of becoming a mother, and I reached out on this page to be able to just vent and air it out, and I got these responses that these people have been getting, I would feel more broken because of it. Like, it would break me more. And it's really frustrating to me that we all need to be doing better. We all need to be doing better when it comes to extending grace to those with mental health issues, rather than trashing them for making poor choices. Help them try to guide them in a direction where they can learn how to make better choices, and be there to listen to their regrets, because maybe if they had been diagnosed 20 years ago, they wouldn't have ended up in the boat that they're in. We've got to have some empathy. It's not that hard. I am just one of these people that I don't have a lot of experiences like what you have. We don't all share the same experiences, but that doesn't mean that I can't at least try with some might and some common sense to put myself in your shoes in a reasonable way with rational thinking. Now, me and my mental illness, I'm medicated. I have my therapies. I'm in a place where I really feel like I can do that for somebody. especially people with mental illness, diagnosed or undiagnosed. And it just breaks me to see that the world is just trashing these people who I've made terrible choices. I have been married and divorced twice. That's exactly right, Gil Paulbert. It's that whole thing of, that, I'm hidden, I can trash whoever because you'll never recognize me again. It's maddening, and it really isn't that hard. Like, it really isn't that hard to just sit down and not knee-jerk react and just put it out there that, you're sorry. I'm sorry that this is the path that you're on, but how can it be managed? Like, how can we help one another instead of just throwing everybody under the like I was saying, I've been married and divorced twice. I was like Ross. I was married and divorced twice before I was 30. And when I say Ross, I'm talking about friends. So I was very embarrassed by that. And then I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 30. I was almost 33. And then I was looking back at my life and I'm like, oh, well, that's why. I was a hot mess. I was a big hot mess. But I had support in my world, in my life, and we didn't know I had mental illness. So there was nobody to say, this is why. There's something not okay, and that's okay, but this is why. And so once I got the diagnosis, it was like all of a sudden the fog started to lift and I started to see things more clearly. And I want to extend what I went through outwardly to those who are still maybe in it or don't know how to live with their regrets because they became a parent. Whether it was intentional or inadvertently, it doesn't really matter. However they ended up on that ride, sometimes, like I said, you don't know. I have a best friend. She never wanted children, ever. Never. It was not even a thought. She didn't want kids. And then she fell in love with a man with children. And then the biological mother died. And she came to me and she said, Kara, if this man and I end up together, I'm a full-time mother. I'm going to become a full-time mother. Now, these children were older. They weren't babies. But, Gil Paulbert, welcome to the Bipolar Club, my friend. We need to start our own little group here because that's awesome. I mean, I know that it's hard, but thank you so much for sharing that with me. Bipolar it's an interesting beast, and it's our job to try to tame it, right? It's our job to try and rein it in and just move a little bit slower here so we don't put out stuff in the world that's going to harm it more. I think we see what that does. But anyway, back to my friend. So she ended up becoming a full-time mother. And like I said, they were teenagers, but she was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Now, my friend doesn't have mental illness, not that I know of. And I think for her, it was a very personal decision that she was like, I'm locked in here. I love this man with all my heart. I'm going to do this. And she entered into it, and it's been fine. It's been totally fine. But that was a 50-50 flip, I think. She could have gone into it and it fell all apart. Like, I don't know. But sometimes you just don't know until you're already in it that you can't handle it. And instead of the world trashing you for not knowing that in advance, give some grace here. Give just a little bit of respect here, a little bit of empathy here. Like, you're so perfect. You never did anything wrong. You never got yourself in too deep into something and then felt. And I do feel like a lot of these people that say that stuff, and like you said, they do it because of I can't ever say that word. Anonymity. They do it because of that. But they also do it in some ways, I think, because they're young. And maybe I'm wrong. It's not like I'm in my 80s or I've had all this life experience, but I'm 43. some of these people that get behind their keyboards, they're probably in their teens and 20s and they're just spewing whatever and they're probably spewing hate in part because that's the only example that they've been given. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe. I have no idea. But we are perpetuating something here on the internet that is a really easy fix. Just show some grace. Show some love. Have a heart here. Nobody's perfect, including you. It's, give us a break. Give everybody a break. Whew, really tough. I wanted to see what you're talking about. Gil Paulbert, thank you. So welcome, first of all, to the Bipolar Astrophotography page. I do some space stuff on here. It's been a while, but we did get something for our telescopes and our domes outside, so I will be back to discuss more space in the future. But this has just been on my mind, and this is what I do on my channel here, is I just kind of come in and talk about things that I notice and things that, are troubling. So I appreciate, thank you. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for being engaging in this conversation. I'm going to read some of your stuff right here. Yes, sharing your experience with others is so huge. And you learn how to be more honest, right? Maybe I feel like that's just, it's like the more you talk with people about the realities of your condition, the more you're able to be honest with yourself about your struggles. That's how I feel about it. Absolutely, Gil Paulbert. Always be kind to one another. You just don't know what other people are going through each day. And you said you were diagnosed at 16. I don't know if that would have been a blessing or a curse for you. Like me, I kind of wish I had been diagnosed earlier because I'm going on 10 years. Well, no, that's all right. That's not right. Is that right? No, I'm going on 10 years. I must have been 33, almost 34, because this is my 10 years when I went in and I was admitted to the psych hospital in April of 2015. So it's going on 10 years now. And I kind of wish that I had been a little bit younger. I think that things would have been easier. I might not have gotten married twice and divorced twice. But then again, I have learned so much because I have a line in the sand, right? I have a before line and an after line. And this last 10 years has been the the clearest I've ever thought. And part of it could be age. I have no idea. But it would have been nice. Because looking back at my teenage years, Gil Paulbert, if you're still here, looking back at my teenage years, I was such a disaster in high school. I really was. I was a disaster in high school. And I had no idea that something was wrong. And then I ended up having, so my jaw joints fell apart when I was 13. And then I had my first my first jaw related surgery in 2002. So I was almost 21. And then my last surgery was in 2007, so I was 26. And then I wasn't diagnosed until I was 33. And all of that time, I was just such a mess. But I thought it was related to my jaw and my pain and my depression. I thought all of my mental struggles were because of the pain I was having with my jaw and all my surgeries and the back-to-back of it all and the recovery. I thought it was all that. And then when I was diagnosed, I was like, oh my gosh, so much of it was undiagnosed mental illness, and I had no idea. I'm sorry, I'm reading. I'm 35 now. Right? Oh, I absolutely will, Gil Paulbert. I'm trying to be more engaging on here. I thought I would try a YouTube live today because I watch a lot of YouTube, and so they do this kind of stuff, and so I wanted to try a YouTube live. So I have no idea how this is gonna go. Like, I'm getting better with each effort, but it's definitely, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit, right? And that is hard to do. That is really hard to do. I went to my crochet group again last Thursday night, and I didn't have hypomania in the aftermath this time. Thank you, Jesus. But I had so much fun. And it's that way, like I I'm testing my limits a little bit. And my limits are very different. Like, it's like, oh, should I go to crochet club or should I do a YouTube live? My limits are very, very different. But even just kind of extending myself out in these little ways makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something. And I want to put a message out there of, I don't even know what another word is for grace. I just think grace is just the best word. Because when I think about the word grace, I think about like extending your arm out. Remember, when you're pointing the finger at somebody for all the stupid that they've done, you've got 3 more fingers pointing right back at yourself. It's called introspection, people. Let's do a little introspection here. We're not perfect. Don't get on your high horse behind your keyboard on Facebook or YouTube or whatever it is and berate those who are asking to let you, like they're asking you if you can vent to them, if they can vent to you about the regrets that they have. When my husband and I, before I was diagnosed, I think it was the fall before I ended up in the psych hospital, we had a conversation about children and not having them. And I was brokenhearted over it. I really, really was. But my husband said something to me. This was before I knew I had bipolar disorder. And he said something to me, and he said, I feel like if you and I have children, well, whether we have them or we don't, 30 years from now, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, one of us is going to resent the other. And I thought about that. And I think a lot of people, I'm not judging here because I'm not, this is not a high horse that I speak from. But I think a lot of people, they're in a marriage, maybe it's good, and they have a child and it tests them in ways that they couldn't foresee. And I think that my husband saw that. My husband also told me before I was diagnosed that I was the most bipolar person he had ever met. I was angry, like before he even said that. And then he said that. And then like 8 months later, I was committed to a psych hospital and diagnosed with, he was right. And that resentment that he talked about, he might have been right about that. And this way, with the choice that we've made, that's not possible. That's not going to be a possibility for us. That was good for us. That was very good for me. My hysterectomy in January, leading up to it, I was so emotional. I haven't talked a whole lot about this on here, but whatever. I was so emotional. Christmas, Thanksgiving and Christmas and the New Year. And then my surgery, I think, was on the 17th of January. I was so emotional leading up to it. And then after it was over, I just had so much peace. I made that decision to have that surgery in September before all of the crazy emotion. And I was emotional even when I talked to my surgeon the first time. Because I'm closing the door and I'm not just closing, I'm locking it, right? That's hard, but that was good for us. But don't get on here and be like, you and your husband are so selfish for not having children. I've seen that. It's like, shut it. Just shut it. You don't know what people are going through. I am bipolar type 1. What are you, Gil Paulbert? Your name is hard for me to say. I might just call you Gil. Because I want to say Paul Gilbert. But anyway, that's just my mind playing tricks on me. But yes, I was diagnosed bipolar type 1. I've had mania. Oh, I would say, well, the time that led me to the hospital, but I think I probably had it at least twice before. And I think I've had borderline, I would say hypomania on the verge of mania once. That was the 2017 eclipse in Casper, Wyoming, because I was just like amazed. I was amazed. And then all since I've been medicated pretty much, I have really only had hypomania, and it's very rare. It's during this time change when there's more sun and it's lighter later. That's when I struggle more with the hypomania. Paul Gilbert. You know what? With the name, when you said that about Paul Gilbert, it's the nickname of a famous guitarist. I was feeling like my brother plays guitar, and I'm feeling like that's in my head somewhere because that just made sense. You're type 2. Are you rapid cycle, if I might ask? Because I know that can be more of a struggle with bipolar type 2 than type 1. If I'm correct on that, I might not be correct on that, though. I can't even imagine rapid cycle bipolar disorder. I mean, I can't imagine it, but I wouldn't wish. There are some, I just, I don't care how much of an enemy you are. There's just some things I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And all the jaw stuff that I went through and the bipolar stuff that I've gone through, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But the healing and the relief and the peace that I've had through advocation for my mental health and finding the right set of stuff for me, that is something I would share with everybody if I could. I absolutely would share that with the world if I could. And I try to. Like, I was just so disappointed when I was on that. And I kind of shut her down when she was, basically crapping all over this person who has mental illness, who made a poor decision. Like, I wanted to just reach through my computer and just smack her and be like, so you're mad because a person with mental illness made a poor decision? What would you expect? What do you expect people with mental illness to do? They're not geniuses. I mean, there's no way, they're not notorious, for making wise and smart decisions. So don't smack them when they're making poor decisions. It just blew my mind. And so after I commented back to her and I said, people with mental illness often make poor choices, but people on the outside looking at the situation berate them, completely blind to the fact that making poor choices is actually a symptom of mental illness. So it's just insane. Rapid cycle for almost 8 years, minimal meds. It's gotten a lot better. I exercise a lot, gym, music, astrophotography. I'm so glad that it's eased off. I feel like my most difficult symptoms have also kind of quieted down as I've gotten older. Like I said, I was diagnosed when I was 33. So I think for the first 3 to 5 years after my diagnosis, I was still a little shaky. I felt like I was on shaky ground. And then things kind of started settling, and I did really start feeling, I don't know, more at ease with myself. Less uncomfortable in my own skin a little bit. So yeah, I am so glad, Gil, Paul, Bert. I'm so glad that it's eased off for you. And yes, exactly. The hobbies. It's like I said, you going to the gym. I've been working out again, astrophotography, playing music, me making my little snowman, doing those things. It's just so good it's so good to have an open soul, to be able to take care of yourself in a multitude of ways, through astrophotography, through crochet, through playing music. I'm just assuming based off of what you said, Gil, that you also play guitar. So, and I sing. I love to sing. I've sang my whole life. I've sang on here. It's not turned out so good. I need a better mic for singing over the YouTube waves, but I love to sing. I've been really into jazz lately. I've even listened to, I was on my way back from Denver on Monday. I went to a spa with a girlfriend of mine, and we got back on the road, and there was a terrible accident. Oh, how far away would that have been? Maybe about 30 miles from home. And it was stopped. I'm pretty sure my husband read later that it was a drunk driver on the interstate. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, we saw it. The car was flipped upside down. It was terrible. I don't know if they survived or not. And when we were just stopped in traffic, I just turned on jazz in the car. I know nothing about jazz. I've never sang jazz. I've never listened. And all of a sudden, but I think it's me. I've kind of figured, I know where it started, the jazz thing, because I'll get to that in a second, Gil. I've been rewatching Star Trek The Next Generation because I haven't seen it all the way through in at least 13, 14 years. So I was like, I'm just gonna watch it. And I totally forgot that Riker is that Will Riker is this huge jazz guy who plays all these different instruments. And I think once I was through Star Trek The Next Generation was playing jazz, and I think subconsciously it got me, and so I've been just playing jazz in my world. So anyway, let me read this. Being a band helps. Yep. Absolutely. It is really awesome. I'm quoting you there. And I don't know, like on here, can I like put your, I can pin, I'm going to pin a message because I don't know what I'm doing. But you mentioned not feeling worthless helps a lot. Being in a band helps with that. It's really awesome to know people need you. Absolutely, people need you. And you need to be open to letting people need you. I think that a lot of people with mental illness or in deep with mental stress forget that. Like totally forget if they extend themselves beyond the bubble that they like to, be comfy in, it opens up a world to them where others can really appreciate them and welcome them in their own different way. Like there's so much opportunity, but it's really hard to extend yourself. And I don't remember the last time I felt worthless. But isolation, I've known some people that when they're really having mental struggles, the isolation really gets them in a bad place, and then the worthlessness comes in because of the isolation. It's so great that you're in a band. You have a team that relies on you to be there and participate, and they hold you accountable as well as you holding yourself accountable to show up for that. It's huge. I think that's huge. Well, I didn't want to make this a long one. I can't believe it's already 32 minutes in. These things go fast for me. But I wanted to get on here and I just wanted to say, when somebody does something stupid or regrettable or surprising, don't knock them down for that. Don't knock them down for that. You don't have a clue what they're doing, what their mind is doing to them. And if something, maybe they're undiagnosed. Maybe they have something severely wrong and they're undiagnosed and they're making all these terrible decisions. Don't cut that person down for it. It's not within their control. Earlier in this video, I said people with mental illness often deny the fact that they even have mental illness. That's how unwell they are. Their mind won't let them rationalize it. So give some grace, offer some help, be a listener's ear. It is not that hard to be kind. You can be anything you want in this world. That's what they always tell you. Well, that may not entirely be true, but while that may not be entirely true, this is. You can be kind. Be kind. That's all I ask. And you're not perfect. You've made your own mistakes. You've got to live with some of the decisions that you've made in your life. Think about how you would want somebody to talk to you if you needed to open up about that. And try and be a good example instead of a horrible warning. There's plenty of bad out there, especially online. No, don't add to it. One of the channels that I follow here on YouTube, her chat is all about aloha. She's from Hawaii. It's all about aloha. We are going to have an aloha vibe. It's going to be fun and it's going to be light and it's going to be good, even though we're talking about serious stuff. But you're not going to come in here and hate all over it. And everybody you're not going to do it. And I think that it's shown me that needs to go far and wide, especially after what I saw on Facebook. I was just so disappointed and I really felt for this girl. And let me tell you this. If you tear down somebody who's already in a bad place, you might be handing them the weapon that ends it all for themselves, if you know what I mean. Don't do that. Don't do that. Not okay. It's not okay. You are a better person than that. And you know what? When you're actually nice to people and you're kind to people and you're generous to people, you start to be a little bit more generous with yourself too. And maybe that's why, you're sitting over there being mean because you're unhappy. Well, if you're unhappy, let somebody help you with that too. It's not that hard. It really isn't all that hard. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys being in here. This is a very small channel with a very small set of people who actually engage. And I just this was just on my heart. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Gil Paulbert, for being here. Go enjoy playing your music, working out, doing the things you do. I am going to do some more crochet today. We did get some stuff that we may adapt for one of our telescopes outside. I think the nicer, warmer weather is going to inspire us to start taking images again. It's just so hard when it's cold. Maybe as we, get to different places with stuff, we'll change it up. But I'm really looking forward to the warmer weather and getting back out there with the telescopes. So, of course, Gail, I'm happy, always happy to talk about this. And thank you so much for being in here to have this conversation. Also, Gail, thank you so much for sharing, being so open about your bipolar type 2. I very much appreciate that for a couple of reasons, but the main one is you don't even have to look that far to find somebody that's basically a passenger in your same boat, right? We're in the same boat. Let's help row it in the right direction, right? Be kind, be nice, be sensitive. It's so I don't know what it is. It's almost hard, maybe for me, it's just hard for me to be a jerk because it's so ewy and it's unattractive. It's very, very unattractive. Okay, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to end this live. Thank you. Oh, wait. Most high fidelity moon Insta. Thought of you. BT. Do you really, Jacob? You and I, bipolar disorder, is that what you're saying? Type 1. Psychotic features, I've had that. Oh, I'm so glad that the channel like mine has been helpful. And I love that you're into looking up at the sky and seeing the moon and enjoying space. And all of that is very, very grounding. And what you were saying about with psychotic features, that's what landed me in the hospital 10 years ago. It got out of hand. I was awake for 4 days and it got out of control. And as much as I hated the experience of the psych hospital, they did get my diagnosis right. I was a mess. And I hope, Jacob Wolf, I hope that you are taking care of yourself, you're advocating for yourself, and you're in a good space, good headspace, good mental wellness stage. And really, even if you're not, even if you just need somebody to vent to, please email me at thebipolarastrosphotographer@gmail.com. I have gotten so many emails lately. I've responded to some and then I haven't responded to all of them. But if you just need somebody to I am here for that. That's part of what I want this channel to be, is I am here for that. And just know that if you reach out to me, you are going to get nothing but grace and empathy and care and understanding. I practice that in every aspect of my life. And all I want to do is preach that. I don't want to use the word preach, but I want us to all embrace that part of ourselves because we all have it in us to do that. Almost felt like a rebirth. Only had the psychosis once, but good for you, Jacob. I feel like my psychosis, it was kind of a combination. I can't really identify the difference between when I had psychosis and when I had mania because they're kind of hand in hand for me. But it was that kind of I was out of my mind. I know I was paranoid. I've talked about that on previous lives before. I've been paranoid before. I've been absolutely panic stricken. That's part of, if you're already struggling with psychosis, that can take you to a whole nother level. And I've definitely been there. I'm so glad you take really good care of yourself. And I'm serious. If you need another friend who understands mental illness and you just need somebody to talk to or somebody to vent to, please email me. I am more than happy to be a listener's ear for you. And I hope that you will do the same for somebody else. All right. Sure thing. Sure thing, Jacob. Thank you guys so much for being in here. No, it's a small channel, but it's a valuable channel. And all of the back and forth with you guys in the chat, it just makes it that much better. I appreciate you all being kind to one another, being respectful to both me and the chat. I don't have moderators or anything to keep an eye on anything here. I'm not that big of a channel. So I just thank you so much all for being so gracious with your participation in this conversation. All right, I'm going to go now. So have a wonderful weekend. And my little Miss Snowman is going to say goodbye as well. Thank you, guys. See ya and take care. Clear skies. Keep looking up, okay? All right, take it easy. And let's see if I can close this out. Clear skies. Keep looking up. Self-care is not selfish. Bye.